On my person and laid out in front of me, I have a variety of knives as well as a saw. As far as a survival knife or a knife that I would take with me for a couple weeks of vacation in the backcountry, I would really enjoy having on me something that I can use for small woodwork, something sort of this size. I would also like to have something that I can do some more chopping with, a little heavier knife work, definitely something that I can pound on. So a small chopper is something that's really good for me. And this folding saw, any type of saw, right? But this folding saw for me has become a pretty critical item in my kit, in my backpack. I am pretty strong, no big deal, but I'm not that strong. And being able to cut through things versus this continual motion of hacking or doing a lot of knife work is actually kind of hard on my muscles. So a saw about this size that's compact, I can actually sharpen these blades pretty easily, is a great thing to have on me. I'm going to show you some of my harvesting techniques using it, but I'm also going to show you some knife cuts right now. So to begin with, all of the knives I have in front of me, barring these two pocket knives, their grind is a single bevel V grind, basically a saber grind, and its kind of overall term is a Scandinavian grind. The grind is when you're looking at the cross section of a knife, looking at the way in which the metal has been taken off to create your edge. All of these basically come down straight and then they angle into the bottom of the blade. There are many ways to create a blade. You could have a convex blade. You could have a double bevel blade where it comes down and then there's one angle and then there's another angle. These ones start a little below halfway point in general from the bulk of the blade. The reason a single bevel Scandinavian grind is so convenient is that I'm able to sharpen it really easily. I don't need to worry so much about it rolling over or having difficult or multiple edges to work with. In fact, the sandstone out here is something that I can sharpen on, but even creating a bit of a block with some sandstone paper on it, I suggest 600 and a 400 grit is something that I can use. Once the grind or the shape of the blade has been made, we then get into honing work and polishing work, also known as sharpening. And basically the idea here is that because it's flat and then has one angle to it, I can very easily sharpen this blade. And the same thing can happen with really flat rocks and such. So mostly for sharpening techniques do I prefer the Scandinavian grind. This knife in particular actually has a 3/4 tang. So when you hear about tangs, it is not the blade part, but the stock metal that runs through the handle. A 3/4 tang means that it goes to about 3/4 of the way. Some of the shapes of the stock material will be cut in. Some of them will go the whole width of the blade, like this one right here, where you can actually see all the way around that it has the metal. And basically the handle is just two pieces of wood bound to the entirety of the blade. And you can also have an even shorter partial tang, which is something like a pocket knife. This means that the pivot point, the rotational balance of this, is in the center. So here's what I have to say about these varieties of knives. In my car, so this is a very personal opinion about my knives, my body, my type of woodworking, what I'm doing out here. In my car, I carry pocket knives. Super easy, super convenient. I'm not doing a lot of woodworking or anything like that. Usually I'm cutting string, maybe opening up a package. Flat back to the spine, I can put my finger on it, do nice easy strokes, really simple. If I were to take this out into the bush, my problem is that I'm doing a lot of banging on this knife, and it's really dangerous to know that at this pivot point, the blade can break and come and slice my hands. So I'm not particularly a fan of pocket knives in the backcountry, but they certainly have a lot of value in the front country settings or kind of car camping settings. And then of course there's, you know, the Leatherman. Leathermans are awesome, something that I might have in my pack because of all the extra tools it has. You know what a Leatherman, it has all sorts of things. It's got files, it's got picks, we can clean out our nails. There's a little saw on this one. So the extra tools are really great, but as a knife, not my preference at all. The 3/4 is not bad. It's a nice length of a blade, good for woodworking. I can get a lot of stuff done with this. Still not necessarily the strongest. I just put these in the wrong sheaths. But lightweight, easy to carry. Strap it to my belt, no problem. Something like this is great because it's a full tang. It has a nice balancing point, meaning that when we're talking about something like an axe, the weight is in the blade part, so that you have more force leveraged against the material in the front, which gives you greater chopping power. You don't need the blade to be as sharp, but what you lack is control. With something like this, where it's more balanced, the knife is more balanced in general, I'm able to have a little bit more control, to be a little bit more agile and nimble with the way I'm using this knife. I prefer these kind of small size choppers for doing my woodwork because they're pretty light. When you're chopping, you're really just using your wrist. It can still be tiring though. If I have something really heavy in my hand, it becomes distracting to me and I have to stop and massage my muscles, and you know, it's sort of a strength thing, so I don't know. This is a good size blade for me. So this is my setup. I would say that if I had to choose 2 things to take with me, I don't know if I can narrow it down. If I had to take 3 knives to take with me, I would take this amazing Sasha Puko style blade for my fine woodworking, full tang as we discussed, really nice balancing point, very easy to control. I would probably take my Bushman as a nice chopping knife that I can also billet against and use for doing kind of a pulling method, which I'm going to demonstrate in a second, to take off wood. And then my saw. So any combination of these would work, but this is my favorite, followed by the saw and the chopper. And once again, I would like to recommend Sasha knives. Go look it up on the internet. Beautiful handmade blades that are made with a lot of love. Safety, real quickly. One of the most common ways to get a knife cut is actually when you take it out of your sheath. It's because people don't put their hands over their sheath. They, for some reason, put a couple fingers a little bit above, take it out and slice right through your fingers. Sucks. You just gotta be conscious. Put it down, find control, and then grab it. As far as how you're cutting, imagine that you sort of have a circle around you. If there are people around, your follow through should not touch any of them. Also, your follow through, no matter what you're doing with your wood, shouldn't be coming close to your fingers. So if I'm holding a piece of wood and going like this, I need to make sure I'm not going to back up and come against my hand. And certainly if you're a little bit more relaxed in a position like this, the last thing you want to be doing is carving towards your femoral artery, right? These are stupid things, but they happen, particularly when you're tired or when it's a little bit dark out and you're trying to finish a project by the fire or something. So before you cut anything, really be conscious of where your follow through is going and make sure that it doesn't hit you. On that note, a sharper blade is much better to be cut by than a blade that is not sharp. It leaves a cleaner slice, which can be easier to stitch, easier to heal, easier to clean, all sorts of things. So taking care for these blades basically means, you know, every time you use it, just go ahead and give it a couple strokes on, you know, depending upon what you do, maybe first on your 400 grit side and then on your 600 grit side, and be done with it. Put your knife away clean and ready to go for your next use. The longer you wait, the more knife work you're going to have to do to clean up your blade and get back to that single bevel shape that I enjoy. bye.